Hello, my Fossa Paws. So, I made another accidental custom. That's how most of my customs seem to be lately, is accidental. Enjoy this picture of Skitty looking at her fish while I talk. So, I guess I should start with how this all happened. It all started with my Nana sending me some more Beanie Boos to sell. My Nana is my grandma, by the way. I've already listed the ones that are sellable. They're on my eBay, self-promotion. But there were some that weren't, in my opinion, good enough to sell. One of those was Tusk the Walrus. At first, I thought she was in prime condition, but then I realized she had a missing fin. So at first, I stitched her up and was gonna just give her away or something. But then I realized I really thought that I could use her tusks for something. I thought it was just a great opportunity to use her as a donor rather than just having no use for her at all. So I took her tusks to make the custom. So now there is a faceless tusk staring at me as I'm voicing this over. So here's where the actual customization kicked in. Buckle up, it's another crazy story like with Pearly. Not as crazy, but pretty close. So the first step was finding out how I was going to use the tusks. Side story that explains what Beanie Boo ended up being customized. Plush and I always point out Beanie Boos to each other on Macari that we find are interesting. So I found a particularly dark Tabitha that I thought was interesting, and I sent it to Plush. Fast forward maybe a week, I don't know, I have no concept of time, and I decided, you know what, it's cool, I want to order it, because I have absolutely no self-control whatsoever. So since I already had another Tabitha coming, I thought, what if I put the tusks on Tabitha to make him a saber-tooth? So that's exactly what I did. So it took a little bit of contemplating to decide how I was going to attach the tusks. I could simply glue or sew them on directly to Tabitha's face, but I feel like that'd be a little boring and wouldn't really look very accurate. So, it's a very similar situation to what I had to do with Love Struck. In fact, it's the exact same situation. I cut off its original nose face area, and I attempted to begin sewing on a bigger area to make it look like the jowls of a saber-tooth. So I took Tusk's jowls, I believe that's the right term, and I tried to sew it to Tabitha's face. But of course, without the stuffing underneath, it didn't keep its shape like I was hoping it would. So I just ended up taking a completely unnecessary step that didn't even end up working, giving him an entirely new face for no reason at all. I'm not very competent with sewing, at least not yet. I'm trying to improve my skills on it. I can sew up a simple hole, and that's pretty much it right now. So attempting to sew on a completely new face was just a big learning curve for me. I'd tried it before with Jinxie, that didn't work, and I also tried it again with Pepper. It was better the second time with Pepper, but I was really rushing it and distracted while doing it with Tabitha, so maybe had I been more careful it would have worked out better. So, completely botched plastic surgery face. At this point, I'm considering just throwing it away. Because of the angle I had to cut at to completely remove his original face and his second botched face, I scratched up his eyes really bad. So at this point, we have a faceless, scratched-eyed Tabitha. And because it was super hot today, I was super sweaty, which made the sewing process incredibly difficult, as well as the fact of the oils of my skin rubbing off onto his fur and making it tan instead of white. I just encountered a ton of issues with this customs process. Had the circumstances been different, it probably would have turned out better and also probably would have been way less of a struggle in the process, but a lot of factors just made it a difficult process. So, after a while of staring at him trying to figure out what to do, I finally came up with a logical solution. Halo. When in doubt, Halo is there to save the day. Those of you who are in on this inside joke about Halo being my donor are probably thinking, oh no. That's an entirely different story for an entirely different video. Point is, I used one of Halo's arms, or paws I guess, to be the new face area. Sort of like how I used a pom-pom to be Lovestruck's new face area. Since I had already removed his nose, I simply trimmed off most of the excess fur around the nose. Had I taken more time and used proper tools, I could have removed it all, Like, I used nail clippers before and that removed it completely. I just was too impatient to do that this time around. But I trimmed off the excess best I could with some scissors and cut a hole in the in Halo's paw area to fit in the nose. So this was going to be his new furry face area. So we have a nose and Halo's paw acting as his like furry cheeks. Then I glued on the tusks, glued on the area to his face, secured that. I colored in his eyes orange to try to hopefully cover up most of the scratches. Also, pink just didn't seem that intimidating to me, and I'm trying to make it an intimidating saber tooth. And lastly, I cut a notch or a little like inverted indent in his ear to be like a serrated bite mark or a battle wound on his ear. And I used a specific stitch pattern that makes it look like an actual wound rather than just I cut off a tip of his ear. Then I dug through my fabric and I found this really cool like velvety brown fringe fabric, which I thought just worked so perfectly. I know I have leopard print around here somewhere, but I couldn't be bothered to find it. Had I just been less lazy, it would have turned out so much better. But it is what it is, and overall, it's not the worst custom. I'm still happy with it, but something is just off about it. Little tiny details that as a creator of the custom, I like pick up on and focus on. Like, I could have been more careful with trimming the excess fur off around his nose. I could have been more careful with actually applying his new face. Just little details add up to it being less of a finished and polished looking custom. But I don't regret customizing it. It kept me occupied, it was an interesting learning curve, and the finished product is okay. I'm just less satisfied with this custom, but I'm still happy I customized it. There are those days in customizing where some customs just aren't as good as the others. If I were to attempt a saber-tooth theme again, I know what to avoid and what to do correctly next time. Even if I don't completely like how it turned out, I learned from the experience, so good came from it. I think mostly what's just throwing me off on this one is all the eye scratches. As mentioned, because of the angle I had to cut at, it really scratched up the eyes. And no matter how good your custom is, eye scratches on it just kind of ruin the whole thing. So I think if it didn't have those obvious eye flaws on the front, it would look just a lot cleaner and better. And the color of the eyes I chose, it was just a last minute decision. I really had no idea what color to add there. I could have put more thought into it. But again, this is kind of more of just a quick, frustrated custom. Like at one point in the process, I just wanted to finish it and have it be done with, so I took a lot of shortcuts in the process rather than actually taking my time to customize it. I think I started this at maybe 6 p.m. and it's almost 11 as I'm voicing this over. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this custom. Maybe I'll go back and improve on it later once I have the headspace for it. But right now I do not. So I will see you in another video. Hey hey.